Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning, this Matt.
This Jesse.
And before we kick everything off, you can always find us at the ittasteslikeburningcast at gmail.com to shoot us questions, comments, concerns, issues, queries, emotional reactions, and any litigation. And if you ever feel like us actually physically supporting the podcast, you can always jump on Patreon and find us at It Tastes Like Burning Cast. We've also got a merch store. You can find that in the description.
Yeah, it's a Printify store. We
Printify?
added some hats and a beanie and a few other things this past week in there. So
Excellent.
Yeah, if you're cold and you need a cold weather hat, look at it, and if you need a warm weather hat, there's some of those too.
Fantabulous.
Yeah.
And then you can always find us on YouTube at It Tastes Like Burning Cast. Speaking of cold weather, it's been cold.
Yeah, no, it's been chilly here in Texas. I'm not an Arctic person at all. I don't get happy and excited until it's about 105. So I haven't liked it and or enjoyed it one bit.
I can assure you, I have been in Texas now 15 years. When it really gets below about 50, I don't really give a crap about that anymore. I have to admit, I still think Texas is too hot in the summers, but realistically, below 50 just sucks. I'm count me out.
Yeah. Well,
It's too damn hard to try and stay warm and stay motivated.
The wind blows too much.
There's that.
And it's all wet and dreary and the clouds are in your head, and
At least there's no allergens.
Yeah. No, they're still there. They're hard and fast. It's just mold and
it's cedar.
Cedar and
So it's not actually any better.
No.
But it's okay. Because we got a special guest.
Yep.
We've got a
extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Previous guest. Long time, one of our early guests too, right?
Mail order.
Yeah.
Endocrinologist introducing Ross. He's going to talk to you about Texas allergies.
Yeah, I know all about that.
So, Ross, last time you were here, we were talking about fire trucks. And I assume since then, you've probably still involved in the old fire truck industry and trade, correct?
Yes.
And as we were sitting down here preparing today, we were talking all of 3 minutes about what we were going to discuss. And the great discussion bounced up coming out of just a couple of recent calls that we just had about communications. Now, I don't think we're going to end up having a 2-hour podcast on communications.
Or lack thereof.
Or the lack thereof. But there's some things that you'd like to see the general public and our firefighter brethren kind of try and figure out on the communication front.
Oh, definitely. Always.
What would those be?
The wish list is short. Just a size up. Size up would be great.
Medium.
Yeah. We have a medium grass fire.
Medium.
Since the day I moved here and I joined this department, I've still not figured out what a medium grass fire is. I'm in search. I've looked in books. I've looked on the internet. I've even asked the AI, what is a medium grass fire?
I guess Colorado or Wyoming, maybe that's only 1,000 acres.
Or 10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Medium.
Just a medium.
Yeah.
Well, I assure you, we're still searching for the answer here in Texas.
Yeah.
We use it, but we don't know what it is.
It's part of those descriptors. Anybody that's ever taken one of those size up classes, it's all about the descriptors. Have lots of smoke. Well, what is the smoke, right? Is it green smoke, blue smoke, yellow smoke, orange smoke? What is it? Just some hippies in a van? What is the story with the smoke?
True.
Yeah, well, semantics. How do you not know what a medium fire is?
Semantics. It's definitely semantics.
Like a steak, medium well.
Yeah, maybe.
Medium?
That's what the cow is that was standing in the fire. He's medium rare.
Medium rare.
He's just singed on the outside a little bit.
Is there any other clarifications that you'd like on the communication front?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, you hear other ones too that it size up and on scene or not on scene to just show up.
Or when you've got like 7 calls running at once, maybe it's a good idea to say what you're on
Which
scene
you're-
of,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Not just we're on scene. Well, what are you on
Oh.
scene? Are you on the lift assist? Are you on the wreck? Are you on
3 or 4 grass fires,
at one time?
2 structure fires.
Oh, we'll just put you on scene on
Yeah, I'm
all.
just on.
Yeah.
Good to
Just-
go.
You know, and that's one of those things that and Ross was saying, and it's like you've got to communicate effectively. It's one thing to communicate, right? But being effective at it's a whole nother ball game in the grand scheme of things. Like,
Well, if you think about the audience size, if you have a 1 alarm fire going, how many trucks is that? That's at least 6 or 8.
for us, it's like 62.
62 with that's a lot of people listening intently going,
Theoretically listening.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a struggle in itself, right?
So I will admit, I may or may not have been on scene to a wildland fire, and my size up includes small but big. For clarification, this fire was right next to a railroad track, and it had cane grass on fire. So the total area on fire, I don't know, it was 30 feet,
Mhm.
but it was like 100-foot flames coming off of this thing.
Yeah, they'll burn.
Yeah. Well, so small
It was a small fire,
fire,
but it had big flames.
active fire behavior,
Now,
extreme fire behavior, 100-foot flames, whatever the answer is, heavy fuels, moving slow through heavy fuels. There's
always
there's
like small
100.
big though.
Small, big is not bad. It's better than medium. At least I have some clue of what that is.
It's small, but it's big.
I've always
Get
been
here.
curious too when they talk about, and this is the big guys, the Forest Service guys, they talk about fine fuels. That fuel's fine. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's when you open the magazine, you get to fold it out more. That's how those fuels are. It's got like 3 extra folds in it.
Mhm.
And you can put it on the back of your door
Yeah.
till your mom closes it.
Oh, well, I'm thinking about it. We did get an email return on the guy at the place with
Yeah,
the department.
with the talking about how to manage some gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were buying PPE for their new members and sending them to a state academy, but they were getting Baby Seal Clubbed on the cost of buying the gear
Mhm.
and then the retention. And I sent back to him, I'm like, rent
Yeah.
the gear.
Yeah.
Don't buy it. Buy it a year later after they've been on the department.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you can do that? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
You should do that.
Yeah, definitely.
If it flies, floats, or fires,
Yeah.
don't buy it.
Yeah, there's and it's probably true for all industries out there, but when you start getting into like segmented specialized stuff, there's going to be segmented specialized industries that cater to that.
Mm-hmm. True.
And it's not one of those things where it's, for lack of better words, don't overthink it sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Ask questions, because it can be really hard. If you don't know, you don't know.
So something I was going to talk to Ross about here, and I got an idea, and it's jumped into my head because we touched on the communication, but one of the things that makes communications even harder today is the cost of the communication equipment, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, where handheld radios cost like $5,000 or some insane amount of money, and a truck mounted radio is like $2,000 or
Oh wait, you have radios?
yeah. And so you're either going back to the Dixie cup with the string,
Yeah.
right? Or you're using hand signals or whatever because you can't afford to buy the stupid radios for people. I mean, if you've ventured down the road and you've gone into the P25 trunking, well, now a pager costs $800 or something. It's insane, right? What this stuff's costing, and by the way, it only runs for 4 hours before the battery dies, so it does real
Okay,
good on
it is a personal defense weapon.
it is also the size of, I don't know, a Walkman, right? Yeah, there's 3 of you that know what that is, but a Walkman.
Or a grapefruit. I mean,
Yeah, it's huge. It's this huge monstrosity, and it's not getting better.
Well, sure it is, because it's on P25.
Yeah, shorter distance, shorter range, less carry, like it doesn't go through walls or, the tinfoil, it won't make it through my tinfoil hat so that I can receive the signal.
well, the pagers we have now, when you get on our eastern city limits, they die. They don't go. They're out of range.
Yeah.
When you hit the eastern city limits, and like north is not too bad. I can make it all the way to the north,
Yeah.
the next county, and it still works. But I don't know what it is about east.
There's a hill.
Yeah, several. Pretty good.
That's the problem.
Yeah. If you duct tape it to like a 20-foot piece of PVC pipe, but point it to where the speaker goes down the pipe so you can still hear it as you're holding it up there. Maybe cut a hole in the side for your ear. It works flawlessly.
What about putting a potato on the antenna? Does that still work?
I think that does work. Yeah, hot dog.
Yeah.
You put the hot dog on there and it cooks it.
Yeah. Well, just don't get the potato mixed up with the battery,
Right.
because they're about the same value.
Same size. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll last about as long.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's craziness that what's kind of happened in the world of what some of this stuff costs. And it's not just communications equipment, it's PPE, which Matt knows a lot about. PPE is not what PPE. I remember when, like, I thought it was crazy that they were going to spend $1,000 on a set of PPE for me when I first started, and now that doesn't get the shoelaces, right?
No, I mean, we're talking bargain basement gear. $1,000 wouldn't buy the pants.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even in the realm. I'm doing departments a favor when I quote them $2,400.
Yeah. And it's just one thing after another, the tools, the equipment.
No one will probably actually care about this, but we've never talked about it. So, fire department, lieutenant, captain, operations, training, eventually chief, and finally get this job in the fire cells. And we specialize in PPE. I go to a factory, learn about it, and it's the most infuriating thing that I've ever been a part of, because I actually never realized you had options in the gear. Like, I only thought you got what you got. Like, there was like a universal thing on the gear.
Yeah, you can get black or white,
and
or
there is
yellow or
right. Like there's this whole thing called choice.
I got a question about that too. Do they still make Nomex? Is that like
So actually,
extinct?
believe it or not, they still do make Nomex, but it's only pretty much traditionally on the industrial side now.
or white if you want that white chief gear so that you can not get dirty.
So there was a department that wanted strictly nothing but a Santa firefighter outfit.
Right. Like
Okay.
white or red?
Red.
Red. Oh yeah.
They
Red.
wanted a red set of bunker gear for their Santa get up.
Yeah.
And they had Santa, all 70 inches of him. Okay. Well, red PPE is actually kind of a hard thing to do unless you do Nomex.
Yeah, true.
And that's what they did. They did a Nomex set of gear on him.
I ordered a set one time. Same thing. Ordered a set of red Nomex, a red coat, and white pants. And it was measured the guy, and it was it's like 70, big. And I sent the order in, and the person that took the order at the gear manufacturer said, "Russ, that's a lot of little Nomexes we're gonna have to kill."
Yeah.
Are you sure? Like, yes, it is, but that's what he wanted.
So the new problem in PPE, and no one wants to really have this discussion. I mean, I've had it as a sales rep, So imagine you're at a table, you got all your demo stuff out. And across from you's the chief, battalion chief, captain. They're the ones deciding the next spec on the gear.
Mhm.
Okay. And to their credit, they're taking cancer awareness and cancer prevention very seriously. Okay. They want to do their best they can to keep their guys safe. So they're very interested in this thing called PFAS. Okay. And PFASs cause cancer. PFASs are in your gear. So the gear can kill you.
True.
Okay. I do not want to discount this discussion at all. Okay. But part of the problem with eliminating the PFASs from the gear is this: it eliminates what's called the DWR, the durable water repellency. Okay. Meanwhile, they're also drinking out of plastic water bottles, and their fast food is sitting on wrappers. You never noticed how ketchup never stains the Whataburger wrapper? Do you want to know why?
PFAS, yeah.
Because it has PFASs in it. You're eating it.
Mm.
You're drinking it. Okay.
It might also be in the patty and the pickles.
Yes. And the meat and the cow and the drink and the plastic straw you're drinking out of, or the paper straw. I do want to emphasize that, because paper untreated is instantly going to go like a limp noodle. So what's keeping the water from penetrating the paper? Moving on. Hey,
Wax.
moving on. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to pay X amount of thousands of dollars for a set of gear. It's a whole nother thing to pay X amount of thousands of dollars for a set of gear, but at least it no longer lasts 10 years.
Right.
Now, I'm dancing on a very thin line here, so I will never mention anything or any company. Okay. Some of them are doing everything in their power to try and give you as much longevity as you can out of the gear. But you still have the PFAS factor. And the fact of the matter is that finding something that's water repellent that can hold up to 500 degrees is a challenge. And it's not nearly that easy. So I would challenge this.
Silicone.
Silicone's a good one. There's another company that's using a polymerized beeswax. Okay. I'm not a big fan of it, but their research shows that it's okay. It's completely biased. It's entirely on me. But I've seen silicone baking ware. I've never seen beeswax baking ware.
Neither.
So that's how I rationalize it in my rat brain. But it's a huge problem out there, and it sure as hell's not going to be getting any better anytime soon. We're going to continue to hemorrhage money on PPE, and I assure you it's going to fail in 2 to 5 years if you're not thinking about this.
But at least it costs twice as much or 3 times as much, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I got a similar question going. You're the gear expert at the table. I used to be years ago, 20 years ago. So the last set of gear that I purchased for myself, I still have. It's 20 years old. The new stuff is like half, maybe less than that, the weight. I mean, it's dramatically different. So is the new stuff still as effective as far as the heat?
Yes. So just out of curiosity, do you know the fabric that your old gear is made out of?
PBI.
Okay. So PBI is awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't burn in air.
It's like legitimately awesome.
Right.
Now, PBI is made by Safety Components, American company. Woo, go America. Okay. My only, and this is just a minor poke at PBI. You can sit there and take the entire fury of the sun and dump it into PBI,
right,
and you're going to be perfectly fine.
Right.
But don't you dare consider getting it cut, scraped, nicked, or anything. It doesn't hold up which is true to all fabrics.
To abrasion or
Yeah, it just doesn't hold up to abrasion. Okay. But PBI, top notch fabric, like I'm trying to be as non-biased as
Mhm.
physically possible. Understand that PBI is like really awesome. It's also really expensive.
right.
So the newest thing that's happening in fabrics, and PBI is really leading the charge on this, is ergonomics, athletic cut.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, instead of being like the kid in the Christmas story in the overstuffed snowsuit, where your arms are stiff and your legs are stiff and your legs won't bend at all,
Mhm.
uh, the PBI fabric is very, very pliable.
True. Yeah, it's
Very, very pliable. It is very soft out of the box, and it is a whole bunch softer after you get a couple of wears on it and a wash cycle
wash.
on it.
Yeah.
But it's still like a 6-ounce fabric, right?
So we'll go way down the rabbit hole on this. So PBI actually comes in two fabric weights. Okay, the PBI Max, I should know this number off the top of my head, is 7.5 ounces per yard, and the PBI 6,
Which is 6-ounce.
6 ounces per yard.
Is it a yard or square foot?
I think it's a yard.
Yard.
It's probably
Yeah.
a foot though. That said, I will tell you this: the reason you're buying into PBI is because it's so Star Spangled Awesome.
Mhm.
Don't buy the lighter fabric. Go ahead and just get the extra dose of the heavy fabric.
Mhm.
I mean, the whole purpose of you buying that
Oh, no.
fabric
But
is because of all the added protection of it. So go ahead and take full advantage of that added protection.
Yeah, and if you think about it, what's a coat going to have? Maybe 2 yards in it, maybe.
Right.
Maybe. So you're
But
talking
even
about
if it's 4,
you're talking
a
about
whole
4 ounces.
Right. I mean, it's nothing.
But back to the weight question, though, seems like more of the weight comes from the liner material.
Right.
Yes, there's been gigantic advances
With all the Gore-Texes and all that kind
on
of
the
stuff.
on the thermal liners and the moisture barriers. I won't talk about the moisture barriers just strictly because I'm so heavily biased to one company.
Mhm.
I think they're the best thing since Hulls and Swiss cheese, and they've also got world-class TPPs and THLs. Great company, recommend it. It's not even really up for discussion when I'm talking to companies.
Is that
You're going to
significantly more money you're paying for that?
You can. Everything in PPE and the fabrics market's always based off of good, better, best. Good, better, best is all based off of what passes the NFPA's requirements for TPP and THL. There's some really, really, really good fabrics out there that are old, like Armor AP, Pioneer.
Mhm.
They're fantastic fabrics, both of them. And they're not nearly on the high end of the cost spectrum like PBI. And they're going to continue to be heavily dominating the firefighting market
Just
because
based on
they're
price.
because of the price.
Right.
They're a fantastic product at a great price. Do they perform like PBI? No, they don't. But PBI is also 4 or 5 times markup. So and the kicker on all this is it comes back down to that durable water repellency. The fact of the matter is if the gear can't repel the water, why is that an issue? Well,
Weight.
think about little firefighter going in, doing an interior fire. He sprays water, knocks the fire down. Carbon goes flying throughout the air.
Soaking it all up.
Carbon's known as like a lubricant, right? Oh, wait, no. It's actually not. It's a actually highly abrasive, exceedingly abrasive compound that's actually used as an abrasive compound in auto body work. So the water molecules with the carbon in it land on your gear and it's not getting repelled. Well, where does the carbon go? Well, it gets sucked up into your gear. Well, then what do we do as good firefighters when we get our gear back to the station? We wash it. What the hell's all that carbon now doing locked into the fiber, the individual threads and fibers of the gear?
True.
That's the problem. It really is. They need to address this durable water repellency issue. It's actually a catastrophic problem. And I don't see how water repellency on the outside of the bunker gear, okay, on the outer shell, which you were protected by a moisture barrier and a thermal liner, has any effect on allowing physical PFASs to absorb into your skin. And here's why. Even if it can pass through the moisture barrier, which theoretically it can, it's a heated material on the outside of the shell. It's a high pressure component. Your gear's cold, relatively on the inside. It doesn't soak, it doesn't go through the other way. Once the outer shell's heated, those materials expand and vaporize and press out, not in. So, I mean, again, who am I? Schmuck, idiot, fool, retard,
But they
dumbass.
banned it in Europe decades ago.
Well, they did do that.
Really?
But Europe also builds their gear differently while still using Armor, AP, and Pioneer. Just saying.
But well, and they also don't have smooth bump
To the pump.
Yeah, they don't have that.
They don't typically go interior though. With an air pack, they may look in the door, but
Yeah, they've got the Storts attack lines. They don't have smooth bump to the bump.
Yeah, I just, there's going to be kind of an unholy reckoning on this. I just don't know when, and I don't know what it's going to look like. Like, I'm not a big fan of class action lawsuits. So what do you do? Do you turn around and sue these PPE manufacturers? Well, they were making the gear to the government's recommendation and spec
back to
of
NFPA.
NFPA
Yeah.
of the era. I'm sorry, and I hate NFPA, but they're not the ones to blame for this. They're just not. It's a big old long convoluted discussion.
Well,
and
even
round and round you'd go.
even the mil spec, the mil spec was the same stuff. That wasn't like the military was buying different gear from.
And aluminized, a lot of aluminized too.
Now, the one thing that I'll fall on a sword on for this is I thought it was all crap until I actually started to read about it. Now the fluorinated foams, that actually needed to die 30 years ago. I didn't realize how bad the fluorinated foams were.
It's like PCBs.
Yeah. Fluorinated foams are actually really, really, really bad. They're terrible for the environment. They're terrible for the water table. They're terribly hard on the equipment that uses the foams. And they also give firefighters lots of really bad cancers. Like, it's kind of a universal bad on the fluorinated foams.
Yeah, and for most of us, luckily we weren't ARF guys or something like that. Like the amount of AFFF that the general normal firefighter was ever in contact with was virtually none, right?
For the most part.
We had jugs of it that turned into solids before they ever got used. That's how little of it we were actually using.
Right.
Because it's just not a thing. And even if we were going to practice with a training foam or something like that, it wasn't going to be that foam.
No, yeah, it was too expensive, even if it was donated to you. Yeah, I mean the foams they're kind of in their own category. Typical American stuff too. There, basically the rest of the world had left fluorinated foams by 1970.
Yeah.
Because they were so bad, and of course America we stayed with it until 2022 or some retarded number.
Eh, probably a little sooner than that, but yeah. So Ross, what is happening in the Ross world with selling lots of trucks?
Oh yeah, it's been good. Been busy with that.
What are you seeing as far as tendencies, trends, great ideas, and then realize we need to get away from this? What are you seeing as far as just kind of like the general trend of the fire truck industry as a whole across your customers?
I think we're seeing a lot more of the, well, two things. We're seeing a lot more of the war wagons, which is kind of a throwback where it's just a basic fire truck. It has ladders on the side, pulls up, pull the hose off, put the fire out. It doesn't, we don't carry a lot of rescue and tools and things we don't use. So you see that tendency, and then we're seeing a lot more people fast attacks or mini pumpers or whatever you want to call it.
Why is that?
I think cost. I can buy a mini pumper for 350,000, and a Class A pumper is anywhere from 800 to 1.2 million.
Are you seeing a shift to more commercial cab stuff? Departments that would traditionally buy a traditional cab fire truck buying a commercial cab?
We haven't
Or-
really seen that yet. I mean, I've done it for quite a while, so I recall back when the Freightliners came out, and where everybody's Fort Worth and Dallas and Phoenix and everybody tried that. They went down that path, and it bit them pretty hard because you end up with a 5-year fire truck.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, they got 5 years out of them because they're just not heavy duty.
Yeah, but you've got some of the more rural departments, and I know I talked to a department the other day that I was there doing some training stuff with that has a truck on order with
Right.
you, and
Yeah,
you
those
know,
guys
they're
are staying with the commercials.
commercial cab because that's literally what fits their budget, and
Yeah, their call volume, and it's worked out well. for
and
them.
that other truck's got to be 25 years old probably.
Getting close to, it's around 20. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been serving them for all this time.
Mhm.
I was a little shocked that they told me they weren't going to hold it in reserve, though.
No, they're going to sell it.
Yeah,
I don't really have a problem with the commercial cabs. I think it's a good idea. You know, it's always going to be a budgetary decision. That said, not all commercial cabs are created equal.
right.
Some of them are very, very well built, and some of them are a little more economically centered.
Right.
I have both. We have uses for both.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit personally, I don't want my aerial or my rescue or my engine to be a commercial cab, no matter how star spangled awesome that commercial cab is. Even though I think it might look really awesome to see like a Mac aerial.
Oh, yeah.
And it's nothing against Mac. I'm telling you, I love Mac trucks,
Oh, yeah.
but
Good
just a
trucks.
Mac aerial's kind of weird.
They'll screw that bulldog to the front of a Pierce for you. I'm sure they will. It's just a little upcharge for the.
Someone was teasing the other day on social media. They had a Mac pickup truck. I don't know if that's a thing
That's
or
a
not.
thing.
Is
So
that really?
Caterpillar and Mac and all those guys are coming out
They
with
are really? I thought somebody was just
pickups. Yeah,
using AI, because you can ask AI to create anything you want to.
yeah. No, I think Cat's coming out with
Really?
a pickup truck. Yeah, it's
On what chassis?
they're building it.
Like a
Holy
Mac.
shit.
Yeah, like the Mac. And I think that maybe the Mac and the Caterpillar are the same truck, and it's just how it's branded. But
What engine does Max run?
they're probably putting the Cat engine in it. Probably putting that 4-cylinder Cat diesel or the little bitty
Mhm.
6-cylinder diesel in it.
Well, Mac used to have a diesel of their own, and
Right.
Maxidine. It was a good engine.
Do they still do that?
No,
I don't think so.
no. Most of those guys. I mean, even the
I'd assume Cummins or Detroit or Cat.
Detroit doesn't make a consumer engine like that anymore because they didn't want to deal with the
Emissions.
emission stuff. They'll still make boat engines and whatever and
And military.
military stuff that doesn't have to meet the rigors of all the rest of the earth.
We walk in the plant occasionally, and you'll see an 8V92 or a Series 60 laying there, and people just like,
Yeah,
I want that. And I'm like, no, military,
yeah.
off road.
Yeah, there's a, and even like the I guess Cat C7 was kind of the last
Yeah.
engine that they made that was.
Well, they didn't do very well with the emissions at all.
Yeah,
We had 1 year where we had hundreds of them that were dead in the water. Brand new fire truck with a bad motor because Cat
yeah,
couldn't
and
meet
and I think they gave up the go.
Oh yeah, they gave up. They said they no longer build motors.
for that. Yeah, dozers, generators,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Off-road application.
Yeah,
So Cat and Mac are making a pickup.
that's could be a thing.
Kind of like a Hummer pickup.
So have you seen any of these Cybertruck like
Yeah.
squads and whatnot?
No, I haven't seen them for the fire service. I've seen personal vehicles.
So there's a handful of departments. There's one in the Metroplex. Who was it that
I
we
know
got?
there's one in Houston.
Yeah, no, Houston's running one for like a
Like a battalion vehicle.
battalion vehicle or something like that. What Rockwall or somewhere over there.
Really?
Where was it that we got that picture sent the other day? I have to look because
Let's say, let me check real quick.
yeah, and they're running these cyber trucks for medical calls or battalions or something like that, where it's probably actually a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy duty. I mean, we saw from the blast in Vegas, that truck held up pretty well considering. We're both Googling.
Yeah. No, he's looking at the text we got. So we got that text from somebody the other day. MB.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He sent us a text of this picture of this truck. I think he told us who it was.
If you do the quick Google search, there's one in New Jersey.
Fire protection.
There's one in New Jersey for an ambulance service. It's blue and white. World's first.
Did he not tell us it was? I thought it was where his son lives. One of his sons.
See, had EMS on it.
East side of Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're going to go out and hand them out to people, I'm sure I'll use it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you also represent a company that does electric
Yes, we do.
apparatus.
Several successful e-vehicles.
What has so far been the department's feeling of that?
Most of the guys, when they ride them, they don't know the difference because you don't know the difference. It looks like a fire truck. It operates like a fire truck. And when they get back to the station, the driver plugs it in and lets it charge. And the first one we had in particular was running 15 to 18 emergency calls a day. And they were using 20 to 25% of the capacity. So they never were using all the battery. And some of them by choice it has a diesel motor in there too. So when they pump, they'll just automatically use the diesel motor for pumping.
So is it a
By choice.
hybrid?
By the technical standard, it's not, because a hybrid has to be able to regenerate power and provide it back to the battery as it's driving. That's I guess the government description of a
Definition.
hybrid.
Yeah.
Definition. By definition, it's not a hybrid, but it has two power sources. It has electrical and it has diesel.
So the diesel only runs like generator pump?
Both power sources will run independently of each other, but they'll run the whole thing. It'll drive it. You can pump with it, and it's seamless. You don't.
My biggest critique against any of the electric fire engines is this one factor, and this would be the main reason we would never look at doing this. Because you're so dependent upon your converting the station to be able to upgrade the charging station to charge the truck. Whereas you can't just take a little old extension cord or even a 220
Right.
and run it over.
It's 400 amp service.
Yeah, you've got to have this gigantic charging station installed at the station. And because of that, you can't shift it around. You
Right.
can't move it to another station.
Well, we've had some customers get with an engineer, and based on their anticipated use, they can say, okay, I can get away with 220 amp service and not a 400 amp. But at that point, you can only charge it up. It's the rapid charging factor.
Right.
How fast do you need to charge it?
But if you take a department like ours, that truck may not roll once a day, maybe once every 2 or 3 days. You probably can charge at a slower rate,
Right.
and still get the longevity, because you always have that backup
Mm-hmm.
power source in the diesel motor. So you'd never be kind of caught with your pants down on the thing, because you'd have that ability to
The
go
biggest
either way.
argument for it, though, goes back to what you're talking about with turnout gear, is the cancer factor. And
Right.
if you look at the emissions and diesel emissions and how bad that is for your lungs and your cancer, so that's the factor that people say, okay, I can spend double on a pumper because it's not going to cause cancer.
And I won't dispute any of that,
But
because there's lots of science behind don't suck on a diesel exhaust.
oh yeah,
Like straight up bad juju there. But
For me, the noise factor of it would be so, just the lack of the noise,
oh yeah,
right?
it's
Because I
incredible.
think,
The ones I've ridden in, it's incredible. It's just like sitting in this room. It's just quiet. It just accelerates and it goes, and there's no motor.
and it probably goes like a scalded ape.
Oh yeah, the
I mean,
torque.
you push down on the go-go switch and it's just wow. I have to admit, I think I would be completely open to it. My problem is that apparatus needs to be able to move stations. And because of that,
Mhm.
I would say no.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a part of it, definitely. And that's usually the first thing we ask. Somebody says, I really want one, because some people, money's not an object. They can validate reasons. The first thing you have to look at is, can you put that in your station? And some of them have said, oh no, our station was built in 1932. It's not in an industrial, it's in a neighborhood. So it's like the power's just not there.
Yeah. It's and I've had this debate with my dad before. It's not that I'm an environmentalist, but I'm a big fan of any progress of technology.
True.
In anything that pushes us to think out of the box and stop just kicking back on your heels and coasting,
Mm-hmm.
but take really challenging problems. And I'm sorry,
Sure.
that's a really challenging problem, trying to figure out how to take 100-year, very perfected technology and science, engines, and say you can't use an internal combustion engine anymore, and give companies the challenge of saying, how else can we do this? I'm all about that.
Right.
That's good for society. It's good for us as people. Hell, it's arguably good for the organization to think out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
That said, there is a legitimate part of this where we'll go to something that I want to baby seal club to death, the whole emissions and, forcing regens on apparatus and taking apparatus all the way to the absolute dirt
Mm-hmm.
because they have a working fire, they need to regen, but they can't stop the truck to force a regen. Hell, we've run into this in aerial testing. And that's not the fault of the manufacturer. It's not. The aerial test took 8 hours.
Yeah, they're just doing what they're mandated to do, right?
Right.
It's not the manufacturer's fault. It's not. It's not even close to the manufacturer's fault.
I would be interested in that Cybertruck or something like that as a pilot, to see, how does it work? How well is it usable? Because even for us, like our squads and stuff run way more than what an engine runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a command ride or something like that. You could do a pilot program on based on Hummer or a Cybertruck or a Lightning or something like that, that you could do that pretty easily. And
Well,
and
Plus, it goes back to, we've discussed this before about the downside to that vehicle is it only has one power source. It's electric only.
right.
Whereas I think a hybrid or something that has dual power would fits everybody.
Yeah, no. From a truly practical point of view, it's insane that hybrids aren't the answer.
Right.
They really are. Not to make it political, but that's absolutely insane to try and drop emissions by 100% when you can drop emissions by 60% and have something that has exponentially higher mileage
Range. Yeah.
and range.
Well, just
The
because-
answer is hybrids. It's not an electric vehicle.
When you look at things like the Ford Maverick, that little truck thing,
Mhm.
we'll call it a mini Camino, right?
Mhm.
They make that in a hybrid, and it's,
Mhm.
if you were chasing an ambulance or something with it as a EMS supervisor or something like that, that's probably a pretty viable option for a vehicle like that. It's
Yeah,
four
no doubt.
door, it's got a little
Mhm.
bed on it that could have a little cover or whatever, and for that application where you need a bag and a monitor, probably a pretty good choice for something like that.
I will say, as a schmuck that actually drives a hybrid vehicle, the amount of money that you save on a gas in a given year damn near pays for the vehicle. And I bought mine used.
Mhm.
The gas savings are so ridiculous that it's actually kind of embarrassing. Uh when you sit there and you look at your total fuel bill for the month, and I drive a ton. I drive a ton now, and I've spent $60-$70 on gas, and I've driven 2,000 miles that month, or that week. Sorry, I've driven 2,000 miles in a week, and you spent $60. Like,
I spent $60 to make the block.
right.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a graph. Like, so I own a Tesla.
Oh, that's
My wife
right.
did. So there's how much I save it. That's in a year. Saved $897. So it tells you all that in detail.
How much do you drive your Tesla?
We purchased it in 2021 and we have 44,000 miles on it. So we drive it back and forth to Fort Worth. And
Have you almost gotten bit in the tail feathers on that though?
only one time we were coming back from the hill country and the outside temperature was 110, and that changes. Extreme weather changes everything, whether it's cold or hot. And if you're in the extreme, so we were coming back from the hill country and we made it home, but like on 3% to the garage door. Like, whew, that's cutting it close. We're sweating.
Well, there's not a lot of, I mean, you get in the metro areas, there's tons of chargers, right? And there's superchargers and all that stuff. And you go to the Buc-ee's and there's 140 of them.
Oh yeah.
But you get into that Central Texas,
If you come from the hill country and come out the back way,
there's nothing.
there's one in Hamilton now, which that would have been nice, but at the time we charged in, I can't remember the name of the town we charged in, and by the computer we should have made it home, but again the heat factor kicked in when it's 110 degrees out and you got the AC on, and it started getting lower and lower, and and the computer will tell you when it comes up black on your home address, you're like, you're not going to make it home. So you start driving 30 miles an hour and you put the windows down and all that, and you're like, please, I don't want to walk. And our plan B was to stop at a fire station and plug it into the wall and call the chief. You're like, hey chief, my car's gonna be sitting here for a couple hours and I owe you $2. You know?
Yeah.
But we made it. That was the only really bad time we had.
Is it a major inconvenience trying to figure out where to stop and charge at?
No, because you have a computer. It's basically you're driving a computer. So you touch the screen and tell it where you're going. It'll tell you, okay, you need to stop here and get a charge. So it pretty much tells you you can make it to there and you need to stop here. It'll show on a map and it'll tell you when you plug in, it'll tell you, okay, you need to stop here for 10 minutes and charge and you'll make it to your destination.
How much of a charge do you get in 10 minutes?
Usually I can pick up 30 to 40% in a 10-minute charge.
Yeah, kind of the first half is fast, right? Then it slows down the more it gets to towards full.
A lot of it depends on if you've told the car that I'm going to stop here to charge, it'll preheat the battery, and a warm preheated battery will charge faster. If I'm driving along and I decide, hey, I think I'm going to charge, and it's cold, it takes it a while. You'll hear it, it'll grind and makes a lot of noise and takes it longer. But if you plan things and I'm going to stop here and charge, that preheats, you'll see on the screen, it'll say I'm preheating for charging. And it'll charge it up.
That's why my wife could never have that, because she'll run it down to like 3 miles to empty every single time.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
200 miles from a town.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought I'd make it.
I heard stories about one because Ford has a electric pickup truck.
Yeah, the Lightning.
The Lightning. And some people that work in the oil business out far out in West Texas, they thought it'd be cool to I'll get one of those. That'll be cool. And one guy left 2 of them out in the middle of I call it the desert, but
It is.
They have a 150-mile range and those guys are driving 400 miles a day and the math doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you need a whole bed full of batteries.
Yeah, there's no
there.
chargers in Pecos, Texas. It's like that. Don't do that out there.
And that's been I travel too much for that, right? I couldn't make, it'd be pointless. You'd spend all your time waiting for it to charge.
Yeah, get that closer. Oh shit, that was almost a disaster.
Oh, catastrophe.
No, I drive way too much in any given day. Some days I don't, but like there's no way I'll ever have an electric vehicle unless it had 1,000-mile range on it.
Yeah,
which I think eventually you might see that, right? You're gonna get away from the lithium polymers and all that.
Yeah, so there's what is it? Sodium solid state battery.
Yeah,
that's like the next one coming in, a sodium battery. And I read a paper on it, a white paper on it. Yeah, if they can do what they're saying they can do with that, that actually completely changes EVs.
Yeah, we even noticed that from our first prototype truck to the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. We're up to 8 or 10 or 15 of them now. But the first truck we had let's say it had a 150-mile range. We're using 14 batteries, and they were $150,000. The next one had 2 batteries, 350-mile range, and the price was down around $60K. I mean, that was in a year and a half time. So things changed.
So, and locally, isn't Denton getting one of those?
Denton has one on order, and Dallas has one on order.
Oh, really?
They're both within a month. They'll both have those.
I could see Dallas specifically where that would benefit because
I think it was
they're not running across Dallas, right? They're in there.
Most of the fire departments are not buying them. The city wants to, let's be an early adopter. Let's
see how it works.
Let's visit this. And they're the ones that
see, and I have a problem with that because it's one thing for the crews to understand because they're going to ask all them questions like, hey, what the hell's this thing going to do? X, Y, and Z. And what about ABC? And how about 3, 4, 5? And on. And particularly that because it's so new.
Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately with ours, it's pretty intuitive because it
just does it.
You can drive it all day and all night.
With it being a hybrid, I'd have no problem with
dual fuel.
A
dual fuel. Yeah. Hybrid must be proprietary language or something.
It's fitting that it is Dallas and Denton and not Fort Worth because it's probably terrible for it to be on its side.
You said that, not me.
probably bad for the batteries to go
Mm.
horizontal like that.
Yeah, that's another thing to talk about too. And it's sad to see some of the big cities back east in Chicago, but their fleets are just down to just crap. And then they even reckon those. And then what do you do? Just horrible.
You buy a used truck from Texas and
Yeah.
ship it up.
Mm.
But some of those cities are hurting so bad. And I honestly, I think that we're not, even our city, who very stable, very well ran, plenty of money.
Mhm. Well, you
Like,
see growth in our city. There's a lot of those places up there. I don't think growth's part of their
But
Yeah,
equation.
no,
part of
they're
that
declining.
part of that growth costs money. Like they're not, it's not just a blank checkbook. They've got to be conscious of the things they're doing because, if you can
Well,
do
it's
it for
not
$1
a
million, why
It's not
would
a
you do it
blank
for two?
checkbook post COVID.
Yeah, that a bunch of that's changing, and even in our department, we've seen, it's not like we've seen these drastic cuts or anything, but there's an emphasis to be more conscious and do better and
Well, okay, so right along the lines of what we're talking about, because I had this discussion literally last night with one of my firefighters. And I said, let me go through the list of equipment that we need replaced.
Mhm.
Okay? Because I don't think you actually understand the list. So here's the list: Rescue 1, Squad 1, Command 1, Engine 3, Rescue 1, Ladder 1, Tanker 5. There's 3 more.
Brush truck.
attack
Brush 3, Brush 2,
and attack.
and an attack. It's 9 apparatus
Mhm.
that I need. Like, they all have varying levels of like, oh my God, get it replaced.
Right.
And there's some other trucks coming in that have been ordered,
Mhm.
but I basically ordered for the 9. So,
Well,
of the 5 left, we have a need for a tanker. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying like, oh, hey, there's another really good buy on a tanker over there. We probably should get that. The brush trucks, I've always been kind of anti brush truck personally for our area, but our urban wildland interface is catastrophic. Our brush trucks aren't going anywhere.
true.
We're
That's
going
why
to have to keep them.
That's why you see more of the top threes, because they are, you can build
You
it
can
as a bumper.
use it as an engine.
Right. Use it as an engine. It can be an engine as a reserve. You see a lot of people do that.
Yeah. I mean, it
I'm
just
a
is.
fan of the Type 3 because it's, especially if you're going rural with it, it
Mhm.
maneuvers better. It's easier to get in and out of places.
One of the best ones I've ever seen was a department built a Type 3, but they didn't use a 4-wheel drive because it's in a county north of us, so they don't need 4-wheel drive, and it made the truck work great. It's 750 water, 1,000 pump, just
And it's
four-door
compact. It's got
cab,
good. It's got good.
maneuvers.
Yeah, good approach angles, and because it's just the way they're made.
Which department is this? 1, 8, 7, 9?
It's in Palo Pinto,
Okay.
and they've had good luck with the truck. It's served them well. But again, a lot of times the Type 3s are 4-wheel drive, California truck. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's the weak spot because that's the part that breaks, it wears, and sits up higher.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of the 4-wheel drive. I guess it's Type 5 or Type 4 that Central Community's got.
Mm-hmm.
And the transfer case hangs out the bottom of that truck so low, like the a bunch of the suspension components are dang near dragging the ground. And even though it's got big tires and it's all jacked up, it's just there's so much stuff hanging under it that
True. We just don't have the terrain around here to need that.
no, other than the soft sand, but the soft sand's going to swallow that 4-wheel drive just as well as swallow a 2-wheel drive.
So what you're saying is we need Himmets.
Hemmets would be, yeah, or our fat tire trucks. What's that? Rip saws. We need rip saws.
I did that. You would have literally thought I went into every single member's house and personally stabbed a cat.
Yeah.
That was not a popular decision.
What, rip saws?
The fat tires.
Fat tires.
Oh, yeah.
Like ag tires, big
Yeah.
wide flotation tires, what they call them.
Yeah.
Just,
On brush too.
yes. Idiots. I'm sorry. You're stupid. That was the right decision on that truck. Just because you can no longer do 90 in it doesn't mean that it's garbage.
Well, you probably actually still were doing 90. The speedometer just said 60.
No, I got pretty squirrely over 60.
Well, that's not even, that's irrelevant. Drive better.
It still got it roadblock.
Like
I just, oh my God.
that's what happens when one of you at the table has had a daughter that drove before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I asked a legitimate question to a Ford mechanic. I said, would it hurt this 6-cylinder motor if we just pulled 3 of those piston spark plugs out? And he gave me a funny look. And I said, no, I'm serious. I want it to go about top speed of 25 all day.
Yeah.
Because if you put all 6 speeds, she'll drive at 80.
Yeah. Well, mine doesn't go 80, but she just has this affinity for crashing into objects, right? Mostly other vehicles on the
Oh,
road.
yeah.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. That's still costing. I think this year one of them goes away. One of those accidents falls off the insurance. It's going to be a great day. I'm going to do cartwheels and backflips. Like,
I wouldn't relax. She'll probably drive through daycare after that.
yeah. Yeah. Well, y'all got anything else?
Oh, we could prattle on about this forever, but Ross, do you have anything?
No.
Any great words of wisdom?
No, not that I can think of. Just take care of your equipment.
Go forth and buy fire trucks.
Yeah. Take care of it when you get it.
And talk in a reasonable manner, right? Do the thing you did a while ago when we were just setting up and you were talking about the
Yes. Speaking in a normal tone of voice, not a 5th grade girl, screaming into the microphone.
Yeah, I just did that. It blew the thing off the charts over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Engine one's on.
There's a
That radio
reason you
TV
don't
voice.
see anyone with a high pitched voice doing the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's irritating to people listening on the other end.
I do have a face for radio.
It's
Well, I have a voice for print.
Yeah, we're good.
So, with those great words of advice and constructive criticism, you can always find us on ittasteslikeburningcast at gmail.com for any input, questions, concerns, or any other things that you feel like physically providing to us in the form of communication. You can always find us on YouTube at It Tastes Like Burning Cast. When you're there, don't forget to like, click, subscribe. And there was a fantastic comment on.
No, that was on the training video.
It was
Yeah,
a
it's
training
different.
video, but yes, I need to go back and respond to that.
Yeah.
And don't forget, there's always merch in the links and bio. So you can always go in there and buy your personalized It Tastes Like Burning drinking beverage for small or large drinks. And if you feel like you need your dome is getting a little cool or perhaps sunny.
Yeah.
There's shade or warmth.
Either way.
Either way.
You can do both. So it's possible to put the shade on and then you put the warmth over it.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd do that on the regular.
Grand plans we have coming up. We're going to be at a couple of conventions. More to come out on that. But if you ever see us out at a booth, come by, swing by, prattle on with us, tell lies like we do. Other than that, this is Matt.
This is Jesse.
It's Ross.
We appreciate your time, energy, and effort tonight. Have a good one.